Hello and good morning, it's Phil Thatch, and Heather and I are here this morning at the Chickamauga Dam, which is right over there, and we're here to try to find tree swallows, which today is March the 5th, and they're usually here in the early parts of spring. It's actually not officially spring yet, but it will be soon. And there's birdhouses all along this area beside the river, and usually they have tree swallows in them this time of year, but everyone we've looked in the normal spots where we take pictures every spring has invasive house sparrows in it. But we did notice as we drove in, there's some houses up this way, and this first one that's just a few feet away has house sparrows, but there's a couple more that have tree swallows. So we have to walk a pretty good ways to get to them this year, but we are going to go photograph some tree swallows. There were some robins hanging around in the general area where the tree swallows were, and I made a photograph of this one on top of a rock. And finally, here is Heather's shot. She got a shot of one of the tree swallows, and this is the bird we'll be concentrating on the rest of the day. Oh, wait a minute. Heather got a photograph of the American robin on the rocks as well. Beautiful and common American bird. There's a birdhouse right behind us here, and these, you know, the ones over there by the walking path, they are not as, goodness gracious, there's a robin wrestling match going on. But anyway, the ones down there by the walking path are not as frightened by people getting pretty close because there's a walking path right by those birdhouses, but there's none there this year so far. These are a little bit more flighty. So we've had to really sneak our way to get close. We're not filling the frame, but there's so much croppability on the R7 that we're filling the frame enough to where we're getting some pretty decent shots right here. But there's a nest right there and another one just right around where that point of rocks comes out a little bit behind it. It's probably hard to see with the sun coming right into the camera. But so we found a pretty good spot. Unfortunately, there's no trees. There used to be, one of the birdhouses used to have a tree right beside it, and the swallows would leave the birdhouse and land on that tree, and you could get some great pictures. But there's no trees around these birdhouses, and the tree around that birdhouse down there has been cut down, so that kind of messes up your shots a little bit. This is kind of the typical shot that you can get 1,000 of while you're there, just one bird on top of the birdhouse. It was cool to have its mouth open, but this is a little bit more difficult. You kind of wait for one bird to fly up onto another bird, and this next shot is in that same sequence. The bird in the rear is a little bit out of focus, but I liked its wing position so much that I went ahead and shared this one with you. And look at the wing position of the bird on the right. It's just about to take off and getting its wings ready for liftoff, and I really love the way that one turned out. Here's some of Heather's shots. Beautiful bird. The iridescent colors of these birds is what makes them so spectacular, and it's really difficult to expose them correctly because a lot of times the dark colors and the bright colors are hard to both expose just right. We've come back even further to the second birdhouse away from the road, and like I say, you can't get really close to these because you spook the birds. But while we've been here, as many as 8 at a time, tree swallows have been flying around, and we've even attempted to make some tree swallow in flight shots, which that's above our skill level. That's Alex Fan type stuff right there. But you never know, we might get one. I got one picture of a tree swallow on the house and another tree swallow kind of coming up towards it in the air, and the one in the air is almost in focus, but not completely. Here's a shot where I just focused on the birdhouse and waited until one of the tree swallows came flying up, and I thought it turned out really nice. And here are a couple of tree swallows on top of the house. I guess this is probably a mated pair, and they are communicating in the way that they do. Here's another shot of that same sort of a thing. I call this one bookends because they're way on opposite sides of the bookshelf. Here's a shot of from a little bit different angle with rocks in the background and one of the birds flying in while another one watches. And this is a much less cropped version of that same shot, so you can see the entire birdhouse and get a little bit better sense of the scene. Here's some of Heather's shots, and Heather, her legs were getting tired and she sat down and she found blue sky in the background, which was really beautiful in her shots. I love this shot right here, one of my favorites by either one of us of the entire day. I just love the blue sky in the background of these shots which is much more beautiful than the drab backgrounds that I was experiencing for the entire time we did our shooting. Started making some shots, kind of not even using the full 500 millimeters, but getting the birdhouse in the frame and the airspace around the birdhouse. And sometimes one will land on the birdhouse and another one will fly around really near the birdhouse, and you can get one on the birdhouse and one in flight. We're thinking this is working, but it's hard to tell on the back of the camera, especially in this bright light. There are definitely two distinctly different colors on these birds, and I think the female is on the left and the male is on the right, but I could easily have that completely backwards. Here they are, both looking at each other with their beaks open. Pretty neat shot. Here's some more of Heather's shots with the beautiful blue background. Here's one of the birds coming in for a landing. Love that shot. And next we have some more shots of them talking to each other on top of the birdhouse. It's interesting, these are the same two birds and the same birdhouse as I was shooting, but she sat down and got the beautiful blue background. Isn't that amazing what just moving a little bit will do for you? Well, we have had a fun time here. I don't know how long we stayed here, maybe an hour, hour and a half. After a while, all the shots kind of look the same. So even though we absolutely love the tree swallows, we don't spend the whole day doing it. Although I guess we probably should, to try to get the very best in-flight shot we could get, but really that's not our thing. But we hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, maybe give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye from the Chickamauga Dam.